Hi, Pastor Mark here. I hope you're watching this in a good place. By that I mean I hope that you're healthy, I hope you have all that you need, and I hope that you sense the great love that God has for you. Me? I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I've been thinking. I know some people say that's dangerous, but all jokes aside, here's what I've been mulling over in my mind. Too many Christians think of Christianity as a drug. Here's your Christian pill. Take it in the morning and all the pain will go away. The rest of your day will be free of any serious issues. I think one of the reasons some people believe that is that there are a lot of churches that do not tell the message that Jesus told us. And that message is, as a true follower of Christ, we will experience suffering. Instead, some preachers say that everything will be wonderful and just hunky-dory if you only believe in Jesus. If this is most, if not all, of what you hear, then you're being set up for some major disappointment when problems come. You might be thinking, I thought problems would be a thing of the past when I signed up for the God Squad. But the reality is that Christianity deals with both the pleasure and the pain of our human experience. Jesus never said his disciples would be free from all the struggles and challenges of life. In fact, Jesus said in John 16:33, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. I like to read. Well, I read about a rare condition some people have, which has more than one name. It's often called CIP, or congenital insensitivity to pain. And it's sometimes connected to anhidrosis, which is a lack of sweating and can be caused by underactivity of the sympathetic nervous system. Well, the result is that a person doesn't feel sensitivity to physical pain like other people do. They can put their hands in a flame and they won't feel the pain. They can bump up next to a sharp object or a ragged edge and they'll be wounded and not even realize that they're bruised or cut and bleeding. I read about one mother whose daughter had been diagnosed with this condition. Every night she'd pray, God, please give my daughter back the sensitivity to pain. When I read that, I thought, if the need to feel physical pain is critical to living a full physical life, then that's also needed for a full spiritual life. We need to feel the pain that our disobedience to God causes him. And we need to feel the joy that God has when we obey him. Feeling the pain of spiritual separation is essential to living a healthful, peaceful relationship with Jesus, because that motivates us to ask for God's forgiveness and to draw close to him. So here's a prayer we need to pray. God, help me to know when I dishonor you, when I've caused you pain. In the book, Has Christianity Failed You?, Ravi Zacharias explains, the assurance of God's presence comes at a cost, just as it is true of any relationship of joy and commitment. You see, Christianity is not a drug. Christianity involves discipline. Little Tommy was doing very poorly in math. His parents had tried tutors, flashcards, special learning centers. In short, they tried everything they could think of. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, they enrolled Tommy in the local Catholic school. After the first day, little Tommy came home with a very serious look on his face. He didn't kiss his mother hello. Instead, he went straight to his room and started studying. Books and papers were spread all over the room while little Tommy was hard at work. His mother was amazed. She called him down to dinner, and to her shock, the minute he was done, he marched right back up to his room without a word, and in no time he was back hitting the books as hard as before. This continued day after day while his mother tried to understand what made all the difference. Finally, little Tommy brought home his report card. He quietly laid it on the table and went back up to his room to start studying again. With great trepidation, his mom looked at it, and to her surprise, little Tommy got an A in math. She couldn't hold her curiosity any longer, so she went up to his room and asked, son, what was it? Was it the nuns? Tommy looked at her and shook his head. Well, then she said, was it the books, the discipline, the structure, the uniforms? What was it? Little Tommy looked at her and said, on the first day of school, when I saw that guy nailed to the plus sign, I knew math was important and they weren't fooling around. Well, Jesus wasn't fooling around either. In Luke 9:23, he said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up the cross daily, and follow me. The root word for disciple is the word discipline. That means if we want to really experience a true close relationship with God through Christ, there's a price that we have to pay. We have to discipline ourselves to daily study the Bible, to know how God wants us to live. We have to discipline ourselves to daily talk with God in prayer so He can make us more like Jesus. We have to discipline ourselves to daily do what Jesus says to do and go where Jesus tells us to go. The same is true in any relationship. In a marriage ceremony, we pledge to live with the other person through the good times and the bad times. That takes discipline. But of course, most of us think we're only going to have good times. But here we are in the middle of the coronavirus chaos. For some people, this has been isolation. For others, this has been frustration. And for still others, this is bordered on desolation. But everyone who wants to be a Christian must be a disciple, and no matter what's going on around them. As they discipline themselves to follow Jesus, they receive God's presence, His power, and His provisions. The exciting truth is this: disciplining ourselves to live for God is liberating. Like this song declares, who the Son sets free is free indeed. Earlier I mentioned that I hope you sense the great love God has for you. I just want to remind you that you are the apple of His eye. He made you. He thinks you're terrific. And when God created you, He stepped back and said, now that's good. Some of the finest work I've done. But God not only loves you, He knows what you're going through. And like any loving father, it turns His crank when you talk to Him and ask for His help. Don't look at Christianity as popping a happy pill. Christianity is a relationship with God who's head over heels in love with you. It's easy to come to God like that. And I hope you'll do that right now.